Welcome back to Face the State. We are joined now by two more members of the High Court, Justice Dennis Evely and Justice Andrew McDonald. And thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
I will continue the line of questioning that I asked your colleagues in the first block, and that is, what is the best part of being a justice, and what's the worst part?
Okay. Well, I would say, first of all, it's the best job I ever had. I tell people it even beats caddying, which used to be my favorite. But I love every part of the job. So the best part is being here, I would say. Obviously hearing the cases are so interesting, basically every one, that just makes the day so interesting all along. The worst part for me, I would say sometimes when you do have a really difficult case, and sometimes the language can get a little overheated, I think, as it goes in the process of majority and dissenting opinions. But eventually when it goes out, it tends to tone down.
And how about you, Justice McDonald?
Well, I guess I would have to say that the intellectual challenge is the best part. There's not a day where I don't have to work harder and think more than I thought about subjects before, and that's a real professional challenge that I relish. With respect to what's the worst, what's the worst is, for me, probably not having as much interaction with litigants or lawyers on a regular basis that a trial judge would say, or somebody in a different context of having interactions with people on a regular basis.
We talked in the last segment about the governors appointing various justices. Do they ever seek your advice? You're the Chief Justice. Would they ever call you up, Governor Malloy, and say, hey, who do you think we should fill this seat with?
Neither one contacted me as to who they were going to fill the seat with.
So they do their own thing?
They do.
So the next justice...
Which is appropriate. That's their role, is to nominate and for the legislature to confirm. And
then it's over. You don't really have a relationship with the governor after that, for the most part. Justice Evely, you're, I guess, the next to retire, because there is a mandatory retirement age.
Yes.
Would you like to stay if you could?
Yes.
Now, there are some other states that do it. Massachusetts has lifetime appointments, the federal government. Is that the only difference between the federal court and the Connecticut Supreme Court?
I think mandatory retirement would be the central difference. Some state courts, obviously, there are different numbers that sit on the court, but in terms of the actual effect of the difference between the federal and state, that would be the central one, I would say.
Having done this, and I don't want you to get a nasty email from Washington, but do you think the federal court should be more like Connecticut and have terms?
No.
You like the lifetime appointments. Why is that?
Well, one of the things that really distinguishes Connecticut, not from every state, but from many states, is the fact that we have a nonpartisan appointment process through the Judicial Selection Commission. And I think it's about 38 states elect the members of their Supreme Court, which I think is probably not a terribly wise way to select judges, but I think Connecticut is really very, very fortunate that we have a merit selection process.
Are you ever surprised that some cases make it here, and if perhaps a case makes it to the Supreme Court, you don't think it should? Does that happen?
I would say we make an effort, as I explained at the beginning. We review which cases we're going to take, and we're pretty careful about it. And we try and keep a rough track of cases that we think we should have. And I would say for the most part, we've got it about right now. And we hear about 130 cases a year.
Right. So some you don't see and say, wow, that's never going to make it right off the bat. Is it that simple sometimes?
Well, it's a fairly small number of cases that actually are accepted by the court. We probably get 500 or 700 applications a year seeking for permission to argue before us, and we hear about 130 cases a year. So the court has discretion on what it chooses to accept as a case to be argued.
Does the job continue once you leave here at 5 in the afternoon?
Well, it does for me because, as I say, I have the administrative side of it. So frankly, I do a lot of my reading at home because I'm working on budget issues and personnel issues and legislative issues more during the day. And then I do a lot of my reading at home. So for me, it really is a 24/7.
On the federal level, we always hear references to the Roberts Court or the Warren Court and so forth. Do we have the Rogers Court? Is the Supreme Court, State Supreme Court Chief Justice in Connecticut as strong as the federal one in terms of influence?
I think I would say this about our court. I would say we are a nonpartisan court, so there's not as much in terms of left, right, conservative, liberal, which I think we take great pride in that we're really trying to do it on the law. But for instance, I do assign, once we take a preliminary vote as to how we're going to go in a case, I do get to do the assignment as to who's going to actually write the majority opinion. So there are certain things that I do have that are, have some more influence, I guess, than others.
I think it's time to take a tour of this beautiful building. We'll be right back with that. We want to thank Justice Dennis Evely for being here.
Thank you.
And Justice Andrew McDonald, and also Chief Justice Chase Rogers is going to be with us for the next tour, and anyone else who would like to come on with us. We'll be right back. We welcome your comments on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or my blog. We'll be right back.